The Celtics win Game 3, and they were powered by an absolutely sparkling third quarter when they made shot after shot after shot to the tune of 35-19. They ultimately built a 21-point lead. Had to really hang on after they got totally out of sorts, and Dallas showed the kind of fight and desperation that a team that's in a 2-0 hole can certainly demonstrate. But ultimately, it's a 7-point win. Here's Joe Mazzulla on his squad, up 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, just stick to the things that we've been doing. I mean, have an understanding. I think, we were down 13. I expected that. We were down 1.5. I expected that. So you got to expect the expected. You got to understand that, we're just as vulnerable, if not more vulnerable than they are. And we have to play that way. And so as long as we have that mindset, when you understand that you're vulnerable and your back's against the wall, you got to fight. And so that's the mindset that we have to have.
We're not necessarily saying like one more or anything like that. We're just saying however long it takes. Nobody's relaxed. Nobody is satisfied. But, just at that moment, just told him I was proud of him, and he said the same thing, and that we got to keep fighting. We can't relax, and that was basically the conversation.
Tim in the back under the camera.
Jason, Tim Reynolds with the AP, kind of along those lines. I know you haven't gone through this, so you don't know what the next 2 days will be like, but how difficult do you envision it to make between now and Friday night seem normal, seem like there's just a game to play on Friday?
Honestly, not too difficult. From the standpoint of last year, we were down 0-3 in the conference finals, and we really felt like, we were going to come back, and we almost did. We was a sprained ankle away from having like a real shot. So, we're not relaxing or anything like that. And, just not even focusing on winning on Friday or whatever, just however long it takes. That's our motto, just however long it takes, that's what it's going to take. And nobody's not time to relax at all.
Standing in the back.
The duo of Boston stars, Tatum and Brown, had 61, actually outscored by the Dallas duo of Kyrie and Luka, 62-61. But this is the graphic that matters. When the Celtics hold their opponent to double digits in the playoffs, they've won 31 consecutive postseason games. That dates back to 2019. Tim Legler is back, and it didn't turn into the blowout that the third quarter, appeared it would turn this game into. All credit to Dallas for that. But the performance from Boston there in that stretch, and then the moments that got them the victory. What are you gonna focus in on?
Well, it's after the comeback, and now you've got to settle into a one-possession game, and we get right back to Boston executing again.
After all that ugly mess of stretch where it's like they forgot who they were.
Yeah, they get to a lot of isolation basketball. Out of that, they come out of the timeout, and here's what they're going to run, and this is one of their favorite sets. They go to this an awful lot out of timeouts late in games when they need something. You're going to get the ball dribbled here over to the wing, and then they run this little screen action for Tatum, who then will run out and set a ball screen here. It's all designed to engage three guys and see if you can get enough switches, and you're going to end up with Derek Lively out on the perimeter, and that's going to matter later on in the possession. So here you go. Tatum gets the first screen. Now he runs into a ball screen, and here's what I'm talking about. And I just think Dallas did far too much of this in this series, and tonight you're just indiscriminately switching. You don't want Derek Lively out this far from the rim, and you've also now got a situation where Jayson Tatum is now going to mismatch, and he's going to run into the mid-post, and that matters too. So all of these things have consequences. But here you go. And actually, Dallas, pretty good shape right here. This isn't even bad defense on the part of Hardaway. This ball is driven baseline. That's where you want it to go. He's riding his hip. But it's what happens on the backside. Remember I said Jayson Tatum was in mid-post? Yep. Well, that means right here that Josh Green's not in position to slide down and help, which means now that's got to come from the weak side, which is going to be Kyrie Irving. And that means now there's two shooters on the weak side of the floor, and Derek Lively is out on the perimeter. He's a center. He wants to rim protect. He's not great at reading this situation on first pass when it comes out, but he is the guy to take the first pass, and you'll see he makes a bad read. He runs over here to the corner shooter, and that is going to leave a massive gap right here for Derek White. Now, that's an incredible pass by Jrue Holiday. Left-handed, wraps it around, but you see Derek Lively just sort of out of place, and Boston makes you pay every single time. And then here, so I'm diagramming these, Scott, because these are, I think, the two biggest baskets of the game. That took it from 3 to 6. Now it's back to 4. 2:20 to go. And this is just Jayson Tatum, again, getting a ball screen. And this time, instead of coming over here on that screen that Horford set and setting the ball screen, instead he reads that he's got a switch right here with a smaller player, and that ball goes right into the paint. And then this is just really, honestly, this is very weak side defense. These guys don't put up much of a fight. He catches the ball, spins out, again, lively out of position, and Jayson Tatum gets the dunk. Same set, 2 different reads. First one, Tatum rolls into the post. Drew Holiday drives. You get a 3. The second one, Tatum rolls into the post. They hit him on the switch that time, and he gets the finish. This is one of the things they like to go to, and they execute it as well as anybody. And these 2 possessions sort of typified the issues Dallas has had repeatedly in this series with communication, with personnel, and with a lot of mistakes on that end. And they're playing against a team that just flat out capitalizes whenever you do that.
Brown hit a tough 2.
Big-time pull-up jumper.
Mid-range 2.
It's not touchscreen material because it's just a one-on-one shot.
Thank you for saying it. Not everything's touch-screenable, but I think that bucket ultimately was as big as any in this game. And to be fair, and to give ourselves a little wiggle room here, I thought we were going to be looking at that third quarter because that just looked to me like the wagon they've been all year long, and people somehow try to convince themselves it was going to be different here. It's just not. They're the best team in the NBA.
I'll be having a lot of conversations about this team here over the next several days, however long this series goes on. If Dallas could still win a game, I don't think they're winning more than one now. And that third quarter will be somewhere featured in something that I'm going to do because from an X's and O's standpoint and an execution standpoint offensively, it's as good as it gets. And it also summed up a lot of the series. Scott, think about this. Dallas is a minus 63 from the three-point line in this series through 3 games.
Almost 2-1 tonight. Boston had 17. Dallas had 9.
They're minus 21 points on average per night in this series. They also have 36 assists in 3 games. That's 12 per game. Think about it. Luka averaged almost 10 himself in the regular season. They have 12 assists per game over the first 3 games of the series because of the fact that Boston is so good at covering ground once they force you to pick the basketball up, and they're forced into a lot of difficult shot making that eventually is going to run out on you, and it did tonight in that third quarter.
Series go beyond Friday, or is this a wrap?
It's hard for me to imagine Dallas winning that game with Boston. I just think they're so laser focused now and wanting to get this over with. You're not going to be shocked by it. Dallas, a very good team. They've got 2 great players. Could they win a game at home? Yeah. And everybody always wonders, is there a part of it? It's like, hey, that team wouldn't mind winning that thing in a game 5 in their home court. A little bit more. Boston wants this over with.
Exactly.
And they also want to look up at the end of this and look at this run of what will it be, 16-2 in the postseason, if they finish that off. It's one of the great postseason records we've ever had.
And I haven't mentioned it yet, but you know because you watched the game, but no Porzingis in this one. Again, it's just like and you saw the difference maker he was in game 1, not as much in game 2 because he was limited by the injury, but he's a luxury to this team. That's amazing that a guy that impactful could be will be okay without him. They have been, and they were again tonight. More from Tim Legler, hopefully, on this show, well, down the road as we continue, if we can get to a game 5 next Monday. Tim Legler, as always, thank you so much. More on the way from Dallas. More reaction as Tatum and Brown go for 30 and 31, and Brian Windhorst will be here with his thoughts as Boston is a game away from another banner.